Let me tell you about this wild story involving a police officer who supposedly pulled off an elaborate workers' compensation fraud worth over $500,000. We're talking about Officer Brown here, a 36-year-old cop from California who worked in a pretty unique role as her department's homeless liaison. She spent her days helping the unhoused community, which is actually pretty admirable work, but apparently that wasn't enough excitement for her. Everything kicks off back in 2022 when Officer Brown's having what seems like a regular day on the job. She's out there doing her thing, trying to apprehend this suspect when things go sideways real quick. The suspect starts resisting, there's a struggle, and somehow, during all this chaos, bam! She takes a hit right to the forehead. Now, the exact details of how this went down are pretty murky since the full information hasn't been released. But the important part is that she got injured. Right after this incident, Officer Brown starts feeling rough. She heads straight to her watch commander, reporting that she's got this pounding headache and the whole world's spinning around her. So naturally, she does what anyone would do, heads to the emergency room to get checked out by medical professionals. Here's where things get interesting. The ER doctor examines her and basically says, "Look, this is pretty minor stuff. You're cleared to return to duty." But apparently, Officer Brown had other plans brewing in her head. See, it turns out she's supposedly not too keen on getting back to the grind. Who among us hasn't felt that way, right? Now, allegedly, and I really want to stress the allegedly part here, Officer Brown was hoping the medical evaluation would go differently. She was apparently banking on the doctor finding something more serious that would qualify her for some paid leave. Turns out one of her big passions outside of police work is coaching youth soccer. And wouldn't you know it, there's this major American youth soccer organization conference happening in San Diego just a few days away. Perfect timing, right? So what does she do? Despite getting the medical all clear, she decides to call in sick anyway, citing that head injury. And guess what? It actually works. Since the injury happened while she was performing her duties, she still gets to collect that paycheck. Pretty sweet arrangement if you can swing it. Off she goes to that San Diego conference, living it up at this youth soccer event while her colleagues think she's home recovering. Nobody at the department suspects anything's amiss. This is where Officer Brown apparently gets a taste for the good life. She's thinking, hey, I just got paid to not work. This is incredible. And supposedly, she wants to keep this gravy train rolling. Remember, we're talking about allegations here. This is what prosecutors claim happened. Enter the supporting character in our story, Stepdad. That's what we'll call him, since he's Officer Brown's stepfather. This guy's not just any regular stepdad, though. He's an attorney who specializes in, get this, workers' compensation claims. Talk about convenient, right? And apparently, he's not exactly the most upstanding citizen either. Officer Brown allegedly approaches Stepdad with her situation, and he starts coaching her through the system. Given his professional background, he knows all the ins and outs, all the boxes that need checking to get a workers' comp claim approved and keep it going. Together, they supposedly craft this whole strategy to keep those paychecks coming while she stays home. The game plan is pretty straightforward, but requires commitment to the act. First, she needs to consistently report symptoms that would align with a serious head injury, the kind that would legitimately prevent someone from working. So she starts complaining about persistent dizziness, tells everyone she's having major issues processing information and thoughts, claims she can't even read properly more, really laying it on thick. To really sell this whole thing, she goes back for another medical evaluation. Now, whether Officer Brown missed her calling as Academy Award-winning actress, or this particular doctor just wasn't having their best day, something happens during this visit. The doctor ends up diagnosing her with severe concussion syndrome, a condition she allegedly doesn't actually have. With this diagnosis in hand, boom, she gets placed on what's called total temporary disability. And here's the kicker. Since this is all stemming from a workplace injury, Officer Brown can stay home, not work a single day, and still collect her entire police officer salary for a full year. But wait, there's more. That salary comes to her tax-free. Plus, the insurance company has to cover all her medical expenses. The deal gets even sweeter. Once that first year wraps up, if she keeps up the charade, she can continue collecting 2/3 of her salary for another year. We're talking about a potential 2-year paid vacation here if she plays her cards right. So, allegedly, that's exactly what she does. She keeps the act going, continuously reporting to her supervisors about these debilitating headaches, the constant dizziness, how she can't handle any bright lights or loud noises. She tells them she can't even glance at a computer monitor without suffering, that her brain just can't process words or organize thoughts properly. Meanwhile, what's really going on in Officer Brown's life? Oh boy, she's apparently living her absolute best life. She's enrolling in online courses, working toward a master's degree, she's signing up for 5K races and hitting the pavement training for them. She's out on the golf course regularly, catching baseball games, taking not one but 2 ski trips. She's attending more of those youth soccer coaching conferences she loves so much. She even takes a vacation to the happiest place on earth, Disneyland. Now, let's think about this for a second. Disneyland isn't exactly a calm, quiet environment. If you're claiming you can't handle lights, sounds, crowds, or mental stimulation, then the last place you'd want to be is a packed theme park with screaming kids, flashing lights, loud music, and roller coaster. But apparently, Officer Brown's managing just fine. The scheme seems to be working perfectly. She's collecting substantial disability payments while living an active, enjoyable life. Nobody's catching on. It looks like she might actually pull this off without consequence until... Fast forward about a year to 2023. Officer Brown's still allegedly running this scam, and she decides she wants to attend Stagecoach. For those who don't know, Stagecoach is this massive country music festival in California. Picture this. It's held in the desert where temperatures hit 100 degrees. The music is blasting at concert-level volumes, there are bright stage lights everywhere, and roughly 75,000 people pack into the venue. It's basically a sensory overload nightmare for anyone with a legitimate concussion. But since Officer Brown is allegedly faking her condition, she figures she'll be just fine. So she buys her ticket and heads out to party with the country music crowd. She's there having the time of her life, drinking, dancing, singing along to the music, fully immersed in the festival atmosphere. What Officer Brown doesn't realize is that among those 75,000 attendees are several people who know her personally, and these folks are aware that she's supposed to be on disability leave for a severe head injury. They're watching her party it up and thinking, wait a minute, isn't she supposed to be practically bedridden with a traumatic brain injury? At least one of these witnesses decides to do something about it. They go to Officer Brown's department and report what they saw. Officer Brown at Stagecoach clearly not suffering from any of the symptoms she's been claiming. Her supervisors must have found this information interesting, because just a few days after the festival, they arrange a virtual meeting with Officer Brown. They want to discuss potential modified duties she might be able to perform as an officer, given that she seems to be feeling better. Officer Brown shows up to this Zoom meeting with Stepdad by her side, acting as her legal representative, and they really commit to the performance. Officer Brown's sitting in a darkened room, deliberately avoiding looking at the computer screen because she claims the light would cause her pain. Stepdad's doing his lawyer thing, adamantly insisting that his client absolutely cannot perform any work duties whatsoever. He argues that this poor woman can't even handle phone calls because her brain simply cannot process language or organize thoughts. Well, the department now has conflicting information. On one hand, they have Officer Brown and her attorney saying she's completely incapacitated. On the other hand, they have witnesses placing her at a massive music festival, apparently having no issues whatsoever. So they launch an investigation. 2 years later, after what must have been a thorough investigation, authorities believe they have sufficient evidence. They move in and arrest Officer Brown. They also arrest Stepdad for his alleged role in the scheme. This story serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of allegedly defrauding government programs. What might start as calling in sick for a conference can apparently escalate into a multi-year scheme involving hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in the age of social media and large public events, maintaining a false injury claim becomes increasingly difficult when anyone with a phone can document your activity. The investigation into Officer Brown and her stepfather continues as the legal process moves forward. The outcome of this case could have implications not just for them personally, but potentially for how workers' compensation claims are handled and investigated in the future.